Earlier in their grade 4 year, our students had conducted an in-depth investigation called Rotten Tomatoes. This inquiry into waste in our world allowed students to develop a deeper understanding of the process of decomposition, the scientific method, collaboration, and what it means to be a scientist.
Before unleashing them to conduct a new experiment, we connected our students with a local horticulturalist who shared her expertise, answered many questions, and left our students wanting to learn more. Through a variety of online resources, students also explored, discovered, and gained further insight into plants. As they deepened their understandings, students began contributing to a collaboratively built Google document identifying key understandings, which they also referred to throughout the inquiry. With their interest piqued, we asked our students to identify the key elements that make up a science experiment. Based on our previous inquiry, this was a quick review.
One of the challenges included in this experiment was that each group was required to brainstorm one variable that they wanted to manipulate. At first, their suggestions were quite predictable, such as the amount of water, sunlight, and type of soil. With further probing, students began tossing around more interesting and creative ideas. Armed with these, each group identified a manipulated variable for their experiment.
They included decomposed soil, blue light, orientation, growth space, type of water, environment, fertilizer, temperature of water, and light intensity.
With the knowledge and skills that they had developed over the course of the year, they were charged with the task of designing their own unique science experiment. Students were able to use the previously designed rubric to guide their understanding of what should be included in their lab reports. In Google Docs, groups carefully and thoughtfully planned out their experiments using the scientific method. In the process of designing, they identified their problem, hypothesis, materials, variables, and daily procedures. Along with this document, groups were expected to plan and create a Google spreadsheet where they would document all of their quantitative and qualitative data.
Each group was given the freedom to customize the organization of their data. Aside from measuring the height of their plant, groups also had the option of measuring and collecting data based on other aspects of their plants, such as number of leaves, width of plant, length of branches, etc.
They linked this sheet to their planning document, which allowed for ease of access, collaboration, and more feedback from teachers, peers, and parents.
With the ingenuity of Google Docs, we were able to provide students with specific feedback on their work using the comment feature. Once students had addressed a comment, they could mark it as rectified, but the comment would remain visible. This allowed us to keep track of each group to see how they were using the feedback, as well as which groups were regularly making changes.
With their plans clearly laid out, students were ready for their specimen. Overnight, our class was transformed into a greenhouse filled with 60 tomato seedlings. Each group was given 1 or 2 tomato plants depending on the test they were conducting. Students' first task was to carefully observe their plant, documenting the smallest detail in their observation spreadsheet. Each group was also measuring the height of the plant as part of their quantitative data collection, which would also be used for analysis once the experiment concluded.
On the second day, students repotted their tomato seedlings into larger pots with more soil. This provided increased space for the plants to grow over our 2-week experiment. From that day on, students conducted their own plant experiments, carefully manipulating a selected variable. We were amazed by how quickly some of the changes took place.
What are you guys using?
Decompensated mango soil, and there's a decomposed mango inside.
Okay, from our last experiment?
Yep.
And so what's your new plant called, you think?
Tomango.
Because you think it's going to be part tomato, part mango?
Yep, kind of.
You think it will grow better than all the other plants?
Yep.
Why do you think it will grow a little bit better?
Because of all the nutrients in the mango, and all the nutrients might have gone into the soil.
And you have to make it nice and flat
Plants' roots might
and
have
perfect, and then we'll put the fertilizer.
I did hot water,
Yeah.
and it's very, in the soil, it's kind of broken in there.
It's broken?
Yeah,
Oh, right at the bottom there?
yeah,
Do you think that's from the hot water?
yeah.
Branches are really droopy.
Yeah,
Because they probably got longer overnight, that's why they're so droopy. Leaves at the top have grown a lot. Leaves are bigger.
This one is way bigger.
Leaves are bigger.
This one, this leaf is
The stem is way darker.
We're putting it in the closet because we're going to see what happens if we leave it in the dark.
And well, they're like starting to shrivel up, like curl up, and
turn black. And there's also mold spreading onto
like right there and here. And on this one there's like a hole in the leaf.
There's a lot of dead leaves that are black.
Oh, why do you think that is?
I don't think it has enough water. The branches are getting weaker.
Why do you think they're getting weaker?
Because they're kind of like us. When we're dehydrated, we don't really have power and energy.
Like humans are dehydrated, plants can become dehydrated. So what do you think, what would happen if you gave your plant more water?
I think it will take longer for it to get greener and get hydrated again.
It just will wobble and then a branch fell off. So that means it's getting more weak because the branch fell off and it's getting more weak. And it doesn't have enough food. And it needs water to make it. It's problematic.
What does it need water to do?
To make food
And so what is it called when plants make food?
Photosynthesis.
At the end of 14 school days, students had become experts on their plants, improved their documentation, collaboration, and communication skills, as well as conducted an authentic scientific experiment. Throughout the process, they shared their observations with other groups and eagerly compared their plants.
In order to share their final conclusions and reports, students were given choice in how they wanted to present their work. Groups chose between Prezi, Keynote, and iMovie. Each group assigned individual sections of the presentation to particular members.
Throughout this process, groups received ongoing formative feedback based on our collaboratively built rubric from teachers and peers.
In the end, each group had compiled an elaborate presentation that clearly demonstrated their learning throughout the entire investigation.
This is that the plant grown in compacted soil will be shorter than the one grown in regular soil. Because the soil is so tight, there's not much room for it to grow. We also think that the plant will turn brown because the soil is so compact that it won't get a lot of water. We think that our tomato plant will be all dry because it's not getting much water. We think the smell will not be affected. We also think that our tomato will be smaller than all the other tomatoes.
Number of leaves went from 27 to 150. There is no human error.
The final step of our inquiry was to place all of the plants into our community garden plot and patiently wait to see if tomatoes would grow.